Watch out, Kung Fu movie buffs. My guest today is one of the flame keepers of the Hong Kong movie industry, Rick Baker, a major influence in promoting our favorite movie stars through several projects like TV shows, live events, and the world-famous Eastern Heroes magazine. A lot of movie analysis, backstage stories, and gossip for your pleasure. This is Ricky Baker, aka Kung Fu Ricky, for the Bruce Willow podcast. So, Ricky Baker, thank you so much. First of all, thank you so much for what you've been doing for the industry because, like we were discussing just now, it's been over 40 years of work. 40 years. I mean, you hardly look a day over 42.
Yeah.
What's the secret?
I put that on my Plenty of Fish profile. 40. 42. Something we've got some good genetics in our family. That's the only thing I can say because it's certainly because of my workout regime.
Where are you from originally?
Okay, so I'm from it's not the north really, it's the Midlands in a place called Hinckley, which is close to Leicester, Birmingham area. So I come from sort of the central part, but I moved to London in 1981. So for the biggest part of my life, I've lived in London.
Why do people say Leicester instead of Leicestershire?
I tend to think that if you listen to American people or overseas people, they pronounce it phonetically. But if you're from here, it's Leicestershire. You know what I mean? But
Leicestershire.
It pronounces technically Leicestershire, and I believe back in the old days, that's probably how they would have greeted you. I'm from Leicestershire.
So what have you been doing now? What are your current projects?
Okay, so right now, well, let's just go back a couple of years with the COVID started.
Yeah.
I've always sort of had something going on, whether it be in an event, trying to bring a guest star over. But with the COVID and being locked in, I'd been sort of thinking about relaunching the Eastern Heroes magazine, which was very successful in the late 80s, early 90s. Back in 2024, I did an issue and it didn't go so well. But then I started doing some feedback on Facebook and people saying, yeah, bring it back. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go back to like the retro style. There's not so many good Hong Kong films about now. So you've got to really talk about the old school stuff. And the glory days of Shaw Brothers and Golden Harvest. But I also thought I'd spotlight some up-and-coming people. And so I got some contributors from around the world, and they sent in there. It's a fanzine, but it looks very glossy. So it's a fanzine. And now you have the beauty that you can do publishing online. So you don't have to go and buy 5,000 magazines and stick 4,000 in the shed. You've got this online, plus you've got all the online stores that will take it now, like Amazon. So you are reaching a much bigger audience than what I was some years ago. And the first issue proved a good issue, and it got the sales in. So since then, we've done 3 issues. I'm just doing a 4th issue. I'm doing a Jackie Chan special, and I interviewed Brett Ratner, who's a friend of mine. I just interviewed another guy called Gareth Evans who did The Raid, and we've been doing some Bruce Lee specials. So it's gathered momentum now, and as long as people keep buying it, then it's good. Plus, also I'm gonna redo the Essential Guide to Hong Kong Movies, which we did back in 1994, which sold out, and it fetches stupid money now. Even if I sign it, a little bit more, but it's time to re-update it. So we're going to re-update it from, we'll keep the old context in, maybe make a few changes because there's a few errors. And then we're going to take it up to the beginning of 2000 and add some films into it. So, yeah, there's lots going on.
So with Eastern Heroes, you said you had to give it a little bit of an old school look because maybe you believe that not just because the Hong Kong industry is a little bit on the slower side now with the martial arts movies, but also would you say that the niche people are very clinging to the old school and to the nostalgia feeling? I am.
There's
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we do. I'm was lucky, even though you wish you was younger, but to be born at a time when the kung fu movie was just being given birth in the early 70s. So there was that magical time before the internet, before DVD, before anything, to sneak in. You're underage to go in and see a kung fu film. The first one I saw was King Boxer. You had nothing to compare it with, absolutely nothing. So it was magical. You're seeing a Hong Kong film, this new style of fighting, and you either, I think with the kung fu movies, you either become an addict very early, or it's not for you. And
Yeah.
so I saw the King Boxer, and then of course I was watching World of Sport, and they showed the trailer for Enter the Dragon. Now, previous to that, I'd seen a newspaper that mentioned the death of Bruce Lee. I didn't know who he was. Now, I'm going to be very frank with you. The Green Hornet had played in the UK back in the 70s, a little later than what had come out in the States. But whatever might people say, Bruce Lee, I didn't latch onto him through that. But when you saw this one clip, it mesmerized me. And I tried 6 or 7 times to get in and see it, being turned away, the police removing me. And then eventually, on one lucky night, sort of hiding in the foyer and getting my friend who looked older to get a ticket, we got in. And it was a happy and a tragic night for me because that night, my mum had gave me some money to take my friend to go to the pictures, which was unusual. And so we've gone in and seen this film. We've come out, and like the rest of the audience, we all think we can do kung fu. We're leaping about. We want to fight anybody, you know. And so all the way home, we're mimicking Bruce Lee in a very poor way, and also looking for something that might look like a set of nunchakus to pretend.
Yeah.
And then by the time I get home, I noticed the door was open a little bit, and so it was unusual. So I pushed the door, and I got inside, and there was nobody in there. And I saw a note, and unfortunately, due to the family, I can't go into it too much, but it was a really violent home I lived in.
Hmm.
My mum had left, and so
Oh no.
I've come on this super high from Enter the Dragon to walk in the door, and my mum's gone. So it was a real down moment. So it's that night for me. It's a double whammy. Seeing Enter the Dragon, but the most strangest thing is I'm not really somebody that's ever kept with anything, but for some reason to this day, I've loved the martial art films like many other people, but been lucky enough to have a part, especially in the UK, to be one of the first people to get subtitle films out, to advise on labels, to create my own label, to bring stars over. So, the controversial I did with my partner and Toby Russell at the time, we actually raised the Hong Kong cinema to a new level, and people come from all over the country to our shows. That they'd been living in Scotland or Ireland. The family wasn't particularly interested, but when they come to the Scala Cinema, this was like a place where no matter what you was or what nationality or what your interests were, you was all on the same page. So a lot of friendships were formed during those early stages. And it's a magical time. You also hope that the magazine will bring in a new audience, people that they're lucky today. We never had that chance. The video shops were quite poor with their films. You went to see the cinema, but nowadays, if you're getting into the last 10 or so years, you can go on the internet, you can surf, it's all given to you on a plate. Whereas back then, it was a journey, and you had to, you had to really, you really look forward. And people used to sell videos down there. Okay, there were bootlegs, but people all over when we got this nickname, the bootleg kings of the country
Yeah.
films. It's not
Yeah.
a great name to have, but it gave us a reputation.
Oh man, what a beautiful story, and it obviously it's a beautiful story because it It really shows that you're coherent with your passion all these years. But I wasn't expecting that family bit, because I had no idea that in the same night that you had met Bruce Lee, in a way, you had at the same time such a horrible experience family
Yeah,
wise. How
it
old were
is.
you? How old were you?
I was just 14. It was
Oh man,
1974.
wow.
Yeah, it was a lot to deal with because my father was very violent, and I thought the more fear for me was I'm now left alone with my father, which
Yeah,
inspired me, believe it
yeah.
or not, to then join the hundreds of people having seen the Bruce Lee film to join a kung fu class, to start learning martial arts,
Wow.
And my dad was a judo. My dad was big, and he'd done judo, and he was a tough guy. A lot of people were scared of him. And just a funny story. I remember doing these lessons. I was doing Shukakai karate,
Yeah.
and I felt pretty confident. And one day, my dad had a go at me, and he shouted, and I thought, no. And I'm running up the stairs, and halfway up the stairs, I decided to do this back kick, and it just hit his chest, and nothing happened. It was nothing like the movies. And I ran upstairs and went behind the door, leant against the door as I come, and he was laughing. He said, it's a bit like that scene from Michael Caine in Get Carter. He said, I would go back to that karate school and get a refund.
Oh my goodness. Oh man.
I found my mum after that, and as you get older, you realise it was the best thing for her to do. You know what I mean? To get out. It was a
Yeah.
madhouse.
Would you say, in hindsight, looking at your career, were you already that much of a proactive kid? Because, I mean, it's not just about being at the right place at the right time, but it's about having an open mind. And I said this to Bay Logan as well, and other guys like Toby Russell, I'm sure. I mean, you guys have this sort of proactive way of being that is not. It's not normal, It's above average, and that's why you guys had the energy to always keep drilling on your passion, bringing all those guys to England. And what would you say that shaped that character of yours?
Because I felt that what lay ahead of me was either I was going to become a criminal or I was going to get involved in some gang activity.
Were you already having a little bit of that at
Not
14?
really. No, no. I come from a really quite a nice. I still know a lot of my friends from that area.
Hmm.
But as you grow older, you start to. My dad made you feel worthless. So you thought, and his idea to me was you're either going to end up in prison or dead. So you can shape that in your mind. But doing the martial arts, and I actually, what the good thing was, I met a girl, and I fell in love, and I went and lived with her for a little while, and when that broke up due to an incredible situation, um, because she was kidnapped.
What? Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was living with her.
Your life is like a Chow Yun
Yes,
Fat
I'm
movie.
just doing my autobiography at the moment. It's incredible. So I'd met this girl at the club. She was a waitress. She was beautiful, and I asked her out to the cinema, and we went over, and on a
Please,
Sunday I used to go.
please tell me that you didn't go to see a Jackie Chan movie. Tell me you were a little bit more
No,
romantic than that.
no, it's not like that. No, I don't even know when. See, that's the thing you'd say back in the 70s. Would you like to go to the pictures on Sunday? If you're somebody you really liked, you tried to be very gentlemanly about it. And so we went to the pictures, and afterwards, she said, "Do you want to come back for a cup of tea?" I went in. I didn't see her parents. I stayed for a while. Then I went, and then next Friday I went up to the club. She was there, and she said, "Oh, do you want to come around?" And this went on for about 6 weeks. And then one Sunday I'm around there, and I said, I'm really nervous. One of these days, your mum and dad are going to walk in. And she said, "Look, I've got something to tell you." She said, "This is my father's house. My dad and mum live in Dubai. He's very rich. This is one of his houses, and I'm here doing a college course. But he's told me never to let any men know that I live here alone because I'm a vulnerable target." She says, "But I don't think, And I said, "Wow." And then she said to me, "You could stay here if you want." She knew my situation back home with my dad. She said, you can stay here," and we did. And for 6 9 months, we had a wonderful relationship. Then her mum was coming over, and I said, "Oh my God, I better move out." And she said, "Yeah, I'm a bit concerned." But she decided, no, let's tell my mum. She's a good person. So her mum come in, we met. She seemed lovely. And then when she went back, she must have spilled the beans to her dad. Her dad was very protective. So a few weeks later, I'm lying in bed with her, and suddenly I feel a hand come over my mouth. And I look up, and there's a guy. I wouldn't say military, but he's got the fatigue. He looks like he's wearing like some sort of military jacket. And I see that as I look over, I see that someone's got the hand on her face. And I looked up, and he's just gone, "It's okay. We're not going to hurt you." And the other one said, "Sally, put some clothes on and go downstairs." And I still was very confused as to what's going to happen at this stage. So
Oh, wow.
he got up and he said, "Right, now put your clothes on, come downstairs." And we went downstairs and we sat at the table. I think he made us a cup of tea, and he said, "Look, we're friends of your dad. They were from the, what do you call that? When Foreign Legion. They
yeah.
used dad in the army. They'd all been together. They were now mercenaries." And he'd asked them to come and remove me from the flat. And he said, "We don't want to make anything." He said, "We got to get your clothes. You got to go, and we're going to take Sally to the train station." And I said, "Well, it's all so confusing." So I went. So I got the clothes, and they got her, and they got in the car, and I waved to her, and she's saying, mouthing to me, "I'll be in touch." But as soon as she went, I ran onto the main road and hailed a cab and said, "Take me to the train station." And it was a bit like a movie. The traffic was going slow, but when I got there, I could see under the platform the train that I'd heard them saying, "You're going to Barron-Furness to your auntie," and then I'd actually been up there. And so I run over the bridge, I'm running to the side, and as I get there, the train's taken off, and she puts her head out, and I'm trying to catch up, and the train just accelerates away. I never saw her again. I don't know what happened to her.
Wow, man.
And
This is
this sort of
such an
this
action plot.
it's a movie with Jason Statham.
Yeah. Well, wow, man. Okay, so you had basically everything that went on in the movies you had going on in your life as well.
But
So,
that situation, I went to stay with my mum, and my brother lived in New Zealand, and my mum had got the divorce money, and she sent me for 6 months in New Zealand, and that was a turning point for me.
okay,
My
okay.
brother going up there, seeing that lifestyle, and you come back, you think, "I don't want to live in the Midlands anymore." I want to spread my wings, and so I couldn't stay up there. I didn't have a skilled trade, but when I come back, I ended up going and working in what they call it's like a holiday camp, Butlins.
Mm.
And whilst I was there, they offered me the last week. I used to be a magician, and so somebody come up and said, "Oh, Rick, they're taking on croupiers in London. You should go down. You're dexterous." So I didn't have any money, so I went down and did this interview to become a croupier, which was going to be, if they accepted you, 6 weeks training. And I passed. I went back. I closed up. I went back home to my mum and said, "I'm off to London." And that was it. I spent the next 8 years working in the casinos like the Ritz, etc.
Oh, so that's where the ingenuity comes from. Yeah. Because a croupier is like it's I don't want to call it a bullshit artist, but it's basically a guy with a lot of
My
savoir
skills,
faire.
my only skill is that I was quite a good salesperson. I was quite a good people person.
Yeah, that's where I
So
wanted to
I
get at
had
because
no qualifications. I left school at 15. I had no qualifications, but I was a people person. And moving into London, I sort of fitted in with that London East. Some of the people I sort of fitted in.
okay, yes.
But it made you more wanted to be, entrepreneurial. None of my family had ever left their area, so apart from my brother. So, it was me making the first break, and it changed you. You know what I mean? You wasn't in this little village, which was a mining village.
This is
You're
this
now
is
in
yeah,
London.
my friend. This is exactly what I was trying to get. I mean, what kind of background did you have that would make you be such a person to actually get to be in front of most people would be starstruck. And I heard your Peter Jackson story, which is amazing. And you were like, "Oh, come on, Peter, you know me, right? You want to tell me that story? You want to tell our audience that story? Because that story is amazing."
Sure. So, I did a TV show,
Because
and
not a lot of guys would stand up to that. That's got to be a rough guy who's already,
no, it was, yeah. I mean, me and my friend Ken Miller, I'm doing some work with now. Ken writes scripts, etc. And we got this TV show which aired. It was called Stop Kung Fu,
Stop
and
Kung
I
Fu,
was
yeah.
called Kung Fu Ricky. And so I'm the guy with Jonathan, and it was like a beginner's guide. We showed clips of films, and we had the book out. This also raised my persona up in terms of mini fame. So we've done this, and then the show's finished, and then Jonathan's a good friend of mine. He I used to sometimes go. He was doing a program there called Film Nights, and some Thursdays I'd go down and watch the film with him. He was going to review, and then he said, "Oh, Lord of the Rings is I'm going to the premiere of Lord of the Rings. You want to come?" And I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I said, "Yeah." I said, "I know Peter Jackson." He goes, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "Yeah. A long time ago." Me and my friend Ken were invited to Berlin to attend a film festival that was showing Tetsuo 2, and Peter Jackson was premiering from Cannes, Brain Dead. And we took over Tiger on the Beat 2 and maybe A Better Tomorrow 2. But we took two films. They asked us to come over. They wanted to put some Hong Kong films on. So we went. The wall hadn't been long knocked down. So we're in Berlin and nobody knows where the roads are. The taxi drivers don't know. And we get put up in a squat.
Yeah.
It was a squat. But, the people were really nice. They were really lovely to us. We had a little bit of fame, I did, but I wasn't sure what for, but I was going to find out. So I've got a suitcase with me, and it's full of my latest magazine, plus a lot of bootleg films I've smuggled in. We're walking down towards the cinema, and there's a crowd of people around a guy, which I later found out was Peter Jackson. And they're all around there. And as I come walking down, my case opens up, and the magazines and all the bootleg films on the floor. And the guys turn around, and one guy shout, "It is Rick Baker, the Black Marketeer!" And they all come running towards me, and they're picking the random films up. And believe it or not, I sold everything that was in that case. And then, I sort of carried on walking down, and Peter just said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Rick Baker, not the special effects guy, just Rick Baker."
Oh yeah.
And he said, "I've never seen anything like that." I said, "They ran." He said, "You're okay." He laughed, and we become friends. And my brother lived in New Zealand. He's from New Zealand. So we did that. And on the way back, he flew back to it. We shared the same, we sat together and we talked, and he was telling me about, he wanted to do King Kong and talking about Ray Harryhausen, and he loves Kung Fu films. If you watch Brain Dead, you see that bit where it says, "A kick-ass for the Lord." So we got on really well. And that time he wasn't particularly a big shot director, he'd done Meet the Feebles, etc. So we left, and actually Ken interviewed him for the magazine. We was for his magazine Imaginator, and that's it. We sort of lost touch, and then so now jump forward, and it's the night of the premiere of Lord of the Rings. So I've said to Jonathan, "I know him," and he said, "No, you don't." I said, "I really do." Run that story by me. He goes, "Look, it's okay. You don't have to impress me. If you don't." I said, "I do know him." He goes, "Okay, I'll expect you to introduce me to him." So we've watched the film. We've gone to this big after party. And then I clocked Peter talking to what looks like two of his assistants. So, and Jonathan is there. And of course, by now, Jonathan, we've got Graham Norton, Stephen Fry. We've got some quite big names from the world of UK television around him. And John said, "Oh, he's going to introduce us to Peter Jackson." He said, "Rick, you can bail out now if you want." I said, "No, I really know him." So I walk home, I'm going, Peter. He doesn't turn around. I'm going, "Oh, Peter." And I've got close. I'm going, "Peter." And he's turned around and going, "Peter, Rick. It's Rick, Berlin. How you doing?" And he's who? And I've gone, I couldn't process it in my head quick enough. I've said, "It's Rick. How are you doing?" I went to shake his hand, and he doesn't. And he said, "Yeah, no, I don't remember. I've got to go." And he turned around and walked up, and all I could hear was Jonathan the Bieber go, "Whoa!" Looked like I was a liar. He just dissed me. It was the most embarrassing situation. And I thought, how can people do that? You know what I mean? Does fame really just suddenly isolate you from that, or and he's a Kiwi. They're very friendly people. So yeah,
Do you
he
think? Do
just
you
left
think?
anime cold.
Have you seen a lot of people get like that because of fame?
No, I know Tarantino quite well, and I've known him since I met him at the Reservoir Dogs,
Yeah.
and I've watched the film, and it's a very quiet audience. I've got a friend in there who's from the late night, and he's a guy called Dave Sinclair, and he used to cheer the films. He used to get the audience with whistles cheering, especially towards the end scene of a kung fu film. Be like they'd have foghorns and rattlers, and you couldn't hear the film. It was just like a football match. The underdog's now going to come and take on the villain. This is it. And there's a scene in that film where Michael Marsden's going to cut off the air, and he's singing that, stuck in the middle with you.
Yeah.
And as he does it, my friend someone goes, respect, like is it a kung fu film? So I go, yeah, and he sits back there. And so we've gone outside, and Tarantino's talking to a few people, and I've walked up to him and said, hi, Quentin, Rick Baker, not the special effects guy. And he's gone, yeah, he said, who is your friend? Is that your friend who stood up and livened the film up? I said, yeah, that's the Kung Fu guy. He goes, I said, I really did notice that those films, I said, were very much, I could see City on Fire. I said, I could see elements of the Hong Kong Chow Fat genre. He goes, hey, how did you know? And I said, well, I do Hong Kong films. And he said, yeah, and I'm not sure. I'm sure he said, I've read your book, Essential Guide to. And he suddenly would become, we're chatting kung fu films. And of course, if you're chatting somebody that's got a passion with kung fu films, status and celebrity disappear. And we become good friends. And so the bigger part of the story is that I've been going to Hong Kong, and I've got very friendly with a guy called Charlie Hearn, who is like the number one triad in Hong Kong, and he owns Wins Films, and he now is managing Jet Li, because Jet Li's manager was shot, Jim Choi, and they've just made Black Mask. His company's just made Black Mask, and he's called me into the office. He doesn't speak English. He's me and my friend Toby, and he's saying that he would like. I'm going to the Sitges Film Festival. Tarantino's going to be at the Sitges Film Festival, and he said to me, we would like you to take Black Mask to screen there, because we hear Miramax are buying up, and this would be a great chance for him to see the film. We've never let a film go out the country before I viewed it and looked at it. It's a scary thing, because this guy's dangerous. And I suppose the excitement of it all, so I'm going to now carry this print to Sitges. They know it's coming, so they've created this. They've got this machine that will beam Spanish subtitles. It's going to be the midnight movie. They've not announced it. The film screening before that is the very art house, very boring, Killing by Numbers, a Peter Greenaway film. So the audience is quite academic, and we're going to blast them and saying we're going to show the new film Black Mask. So. Did
it go well?
Well, this is the great part about it. This was the moment of my life. Quentin said to me, I said, I told him in the green room, I said, they want you to come tonight. They're hoping that you will pitch it to Harvey Weinstein, and you're getting this group up. And he said, I can't come. I said, why? I said, there's a triad gangster going to shoot me lying through, making it sound like a movie plot. If you don't show up. And he said, Mira Savino, who was going out with at the time, is coming in tonight. We might see each other for 6 weeks. I want to be. I said, oh, okay. He said, I'll tell you what we'll do. He said, Rick, you're going to love this. I'm going to tell the organizers I'm not coming. You're going to go on the stage, and you're going to say to them, through your interpreter, that tonight's film is The Black Mask, and it stars Jet Li. It's the first screening anywhere in the world. And we were hoping that Tarantino, now by this stage, the new Tarantino was in town, so a lot of press had rolled in and were now filling the back of the cinema. And he said, we're going to now have Quentin Tarantino. I said, Quentin was going to be, I said, but unfortunately, his girlfriend's in town, and he can't come. And the whole audience is going, oh. I said, but don't worry. I'm not having this. I'm going to go off stage. I'm going to walk over to his hotel and I'll knock on the door and I'll say, you got to come. Now, we'd set this up, me and Quentin. So the organizer going, whoa, 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 whoa. And I've got off the stage. I've put the mic down. I've walked up through the stage. I've walked out. His hotel's just opposite the cinema. I've walked up. I've knocked on the door. And he's come to the door in his boxer t-shirt because he uses the word, fucking Rick, what do you want? And I said, we're screening Black Mask. It's the world premiere. I said, they want to be. He said, and he opened the door, and I don't even set this up. Mira Sabino's on the bed in like a nightie, like a necklace, something very sexy, looking at me. And he says, Rick, look. Are you mad? And I said, oh, God. He said, Rick, hang on a minute. Mira, stay that position for 2 hours. Rick, come with me. And he walked with me. And we walked into the cinema, and we walked down, and the audience had gone crazy. And we walked up, and Mike said, hi, everybody. You know me. I am Quentin Tarantino. Because he just won. He was at the peak. He'd just done Pulp Fiction. And he said, but I wasn't supposed to be. He said, did you want to thank this one guy, Rick Baker? If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here tonight. When you want to thank anybody tonight, you thank this guy.
Wow.
He's the only person who had the influence to come over and get me out. And so we sit down and Quentin said, do you like that? He said, you watch after this film. He said, you're going to get your 15 minutes of fame. So we went. The film finished, we got mobbed, and so the two guys that were running the festival kicked the exit door open. We got in and we shut it, and they were pushing, and Quentin said, this will be like this for about half an hour now. So we've sat down, and so one of the guys said, they were quite taken back that there's me, him, and the two organizers are in this back alleyway. And he said, oh, by the way, Quentin, I went to an auction, I bought the guns that you used in Pulp Fiction, I guess, no, you didn't. He said, they're in my house. You just got fakes. So the idea was we sat there and we decided to write a movie script, me and Quentin. And he said to me, here's the opening scene, Rick. Let's have an opening scene. Who's your actors? I said, let's have Kurt Russell, Chow Yun-fat, John Woo directing. He goes, okay. Opening scene. You see the back of Kurt Russell's head. He picks the phone up and the guy said, we've got your daughter. We want $5 million. He said, there's a pause. He said, I know who you are. And in my heart, my daughter's already dead. But I'm going to give $10 million to a guy that will hunt you down. And he puts the phone down, and this title, because we call it Born Invincible. And as that comes up, Chow comes off the plane with his glasses on and his gun. And the whole film is him hunting down this guy. And we actually, and then Quentin said, you can have that. You can have that. He said, if you can put it, you can have that. And years later, I went to the Sony lot with that script with Steve Wang, who you may know did the Predator Head, and he did Drive, which we worked on. Mm-hmm. And we went in and pitched this film, and we thought it was great because we'd showed them Drive, and they loved it. They were looking to invest in some new directors. And I pitched the story. I told them the whole story, and they looked great. We walked out, and I said, we made it. I'm in Hollywood. I made it. And he said, let me just ring I know the girl on reception. He said, oh, hi, Steve. How did it go? She goes, I hated it. They think Rick, that he'll never work in Hollywood again. He's using Quentin Tarantino, and then we'll be sued. That was another big low in my life, learning the Hollywood, whatever they say to your face, the moment that door's closed, you could be finished.
Wow, man. Wow. Oh, such stories, man. What do you think of this? I wouldn't want to get into much gossip about it, but what do you think of this Tarantino-Bruce Lee feud that's been going on because of Once Upon a Time in America?
Because,
in Hollywood.
I like the film. In fact, I went to the week to see Quentin talk about the book he's just done on the movie. Mm-hmm. Look, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. This is my personal feeling. Bruce at that period wasn't so well known. Bruce is the most influential guy, and his movies opened up a whole world. I have this saying, in the beginning, the world only flirted with martial art films, but it wasn't until Bruce Lee came along that we fell in love with them. But you can't believe that somebody on the screen is going to be able to beat everybody in the world. Even Bruce wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
And so this guy that's being played by Brad Pitt is an SAS Navy SEAL type guy. He's a hard guy. Bruce is down there. If you don't know who Bruce Lee is and you see a small Chinese guy and he's having a go at you, without all the build-up of knowing who he is, you're probably going to have a go at him. And I remember Brad saying in the beginning that he was going to be, that seemed to call for him to beat Bruce, but he said, I can't beat Bruce Lee, So they had this sort of top. I mean, it's probably the world of realism. You can't, people get so sucked in. And we're watching a movie, and there's no doubt about Bruce's ability, the devastation he could create with his speed. And I'd be the last person. But if you could sit there and be a realist, that scene was an impossible scene not to happen. It could have happened. It could have been well there. If this is a big guy used to fighting, he just pushed him down. It wasn't like a fight to the death.
Yeah, the scene itself. I can totally believe the scene itself. It's not the scene itself. It's what he said later on Joe Rogan and whatnot, because he said that in Matthew Pauly's book or the Bruce Lee biography, he said that Bruce would be very rude and impolite to the American stunt guys, or that he would keep flicking them and stuff like that.
And the stuntmen hated Bruce.
Really?
On Green Hornet. No, it's in Matthew Pauly's book. Bruce had nothing but disrespect for stuntmen, and he was always hitting them.
I mean, listen, there's a million memes and a million stories about Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of them are just hearsay. And that was not a good thing to say. I mean, I do believe, because Quentin, many times we've discussed kung fu movies, he's a big fan of Bruce Lee. He loves Jay. He loves the old Wang Yu, loves the old school films.
Yeah, I believe so too.
I don't think he wanted to make that seem like a Bruce Lee fight where it's wow, and he's round, this was just a tussle. So it was bad of him, and I think Quentin can get very vocal.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Did it affect the sales of the film? No.
No, not at all.
Listen, it was just a movie. It wasn't Bruce Lee fighting. It was a movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I totally respect his artistic integrity and his artistic creativity.
If it was Bruce Lee in the scene, and it'd have been people had gone uproar, but it was just a movie, and it was just his interpretation.
Yeah, it's not. That's
part of the film.
Yeah, it's mostly what he said afterwards that kind of bothered me
I
in a
think
way.
That's where it goes wrong sometimes. Is the fallout afterwards?
Yeah, exactly.
I spoke with Quentin. He's very passionate. He's very animated. He did a podcast recently, and he brought me up talking about how he used to come down our shop at the underground shop, and he bought his first copy of Fistful of Talents there. It was quite nice to hear that he's talked about us. But the fact of the matter being is I think at the conversations afterwards been slightly different and not more sort of detrimental.
Not all heart, right?
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make a film. It wasn't meant to be a diss. You know what I mean? But it's how you handle the press afterwards that can then distort the movie.
Yeah. When was your first Hong Kong trip?
My first Hong Kong trip was in fact, we shot a video of it. It's called. It's in one of the magazines. We gave it away. It's the video magazine #1, and that would be around about 94, 93, 94.
Yeah. So what you did back then was you got the VHS tapes in the Hong Kong market, I guess, and then you brought them to the. What did you do? What was the process?
It's a really drug smuggling style thing. We would go down to the market, me and Toby, the late night market, and there'd be tapes racked with videos, selling them cheap. We're greedy. We would grab them, and you can get these like what do you call them here? They're like laundry bags. They're quite big. People take them long.
Yeah.
And over there they have extenders, so they pull up. We would load these in, and then we would almost drag them like there was two bodies in there. We would flag a cab down. It was too big. He would put him in the boot, and his boot would be hanging off, and then we'd get him, we'd drive back to the hotel, and then we'd drag these films upstairs, and we'd look at them like fans. Look at this, look at this, look at that. Wishing we had a VHS player to play them with. And then we decided the only way we could bring them back was if we took the sleeves out, undone the boxes, and wound the spools up. So just there was a spools and a sleeve. And this way we could condense hundreds of films into two big bags. When we come to customs, it was like Midnight Express. It was like, okay. I said, I'll tell you what, I'm going to buy a clock and we're going to go through the declare, and I'm going to put it on the counter with these two big bags behind us, nearly as tall as me, and say, I bought this clock. Is it, do I pay? He said, how much you pay for? I said, about 30 quid. He goes, no. And then we drag these bags out. So we did this many times. And then we box all the films up. We put the sleeves back in. We'd do a triple bill at the Scala, and we'd sell them all off.
Wow.
know?
That takes guts.
It was the whole trip was, we would land, we would go to the hotel, and we wouldn't have a great hotel. We'd throw the bags in, we'd run out, and the first thing we'd do is, let's go to the cinema. And there'd always be some Jackie Chan film playing.
Wow.
In we'd go, watch that, then we'd go and have something to eat. Then we were tired, the jet lag, but we were sort of there. So then we would go to a massage parlor. But let me just story this. When we went, Toby said to me, he said, I could just do like one of those hot things and somebody walking on my back. And he said, I'll take you to where they shot The Protector. You know, the one with the holes in? I said, I love it. And that's where we went. It was a straight massage. There was no funny business, but it was great being in that sauna and in that same area. And you see quite a lot of the triad guys in there, you know, with their phones. And we went in there, and that sort of revived you, because then you've got this second wind. It's now 11 o'clock. You go back to the hotel and you get ready and you say, right, now we're going to have to buy videos. And so it was exhausting, really. But the adrenaline, and you're going to meet some stars tomorrow. We're going to meet Samo. We're going to meet Wilson Tong. We're going to meet you name it, Yumbio. It was the adrenaline was so pumping through your veins at that stage. It was just like a roller coaster.
Who are some of the best people that you've met? Do you
Giant
guys like
fan.
Yun Bio and Wilson
Yumbio
Tong? Are
is,
they?
I mean, he didn't speak any English. You can see me interview on YouTube. One of the best things is Toby. He when we get there, we can see another room. We can see Sammo Hung, and he's with Wang Lung Wei, and he's with his crew, and Yun Bio's in there. And as I'm looking in, the door slowly closes. And it's like that scene in The Godfather. And it just closes and he's gone. I thought, wow. I said, look, all the people in there. Then Sammo's come out. I heard he didn't speak English. He sat down and spoke great English to us. And we're talking away, and he says, Yun Bio, he calls Yun Bio, and he says, go get these tea, no. And I said, oh my God, he's making Yun Bio like our houseboy. I feel so embarrassed. You know, and Yun Bio's come back, here's the tea, and they tell us some great stories about, you know, how Yun Bio lent Jackie 20 cents and he wouldn't give it him back. And so he told Sammo. So Sammo then goes and threatens Jackie and gives them the money back. And it was a great moment. But as we're walking out with Yun Bio, Toby, who speaks Cantonese, said to him, do a backflip. And he just looked at him and went, like a movie. I went, wow, that's made my day.
Wow.
So yes,
wow,
Sammo Hung was great. You know something? I've had good experiences with quite a few people. I've had a few bad experiences. I've got in a fight with Jackie and with Donnie Yen.
What? In a fight?
Yeah. Not an argument so much as yeah.
What happened with Jackie?
So it's Hong Kong Film Award night. My friend Anthony Wong's going to get Best Actor for Beast Cops. And we're in the audience. And afterwards, Bay's there. There's a few other people there. And we've gone up and we had the photograph taken with him holding the Best Actor award. And he said, hey, we've been invited to a party. I goes, whose? He goes, I'm not telling you, but you're going to come to the new territories. Yeah, oh, yeah. So we've gone down there. And I've got to this party. And the guy on the door is Jackie Chan. I go, oh, my fuck, it's Jackie Chan. And he shook my hand. Now, I'd met Jackie before at the Rumble in the Bronx thing. And so he sort of vaguely mixed out. He knew I was. Because the nicest thing he said to me when I met him at the Hollywood, Planet Hollywood, at the Rumble, he came to me and said, I'm Rick. I said, I know you are. Says Quentin Tarantino says great things about you. I thought, wow, stop my head from growing. And we've gone in there. Now, I had a friend, genuinely, I had a friend that had MS back here, a Spanish guy. And he said to me, Rick, if ever you see Jackie Chan, just get me his autograph. I said, look, it's not like I bump into the guy every day, you know. But I said, if ever that moment comes, I'm your guy. I'm going to ask for an autograph. I've got this program. I'm in there. And there's a lot of the old Shaw Brother actors. And Jackie's drinking quite heavily and doing some karaoke. And the Chinese people don't drink that well. Their nose goes red, and so we're in there. And then I see Jackie. I walked in. Jackie. He goes, yeah. I said, could you sign the? Whoa. What are you doing at my party? And I said, I come with Anthony. And some work, blah, blah, blah. He said, well, you don't ask for autographs then. I said, no, listen, Jackie, it's not for me. I have a friend, but he shut me down. And I was going, Jackie, and all of a sudden, Jackie's got into a stance, got drunken.
Oh, my
And I thought,
goodness.
what is going on here? It was so surreal. It was so fantastic. And I looked over and I looked back at Jackie, and then suddenly Ken Lo, John Sham, and Eric Sang have run over and got in between us. And I go, what's up with Jackie? I'll tell him, don't worry. Jackie. And as they're taking Jackie away, swung round again, and he's wavering. And I was, oh, Christ, almost drunken master. I was in my head, I'm thinking, this is what I think I'll tell my kids, Jackie, me, and he swung around and he's saying something now in Cantonese, and he's been taken up, and I've gone to the table and I've gone, wow, what the heck happened there? And then Eric Sang come over to me and said, it's okay. Jackie apparently had been on a TV show not so long before, and he had said unequivocally that the woman who said that who had this baby was not his.
Oh, it was at that time, the controversy.
So she then went and had a DNA test, and then went back on that show the night before and said, Jackie Chan's a liar. This is his daughter. In fact, the daughter's the one you see probably on YouTube now, who was going to have she was going to get married to another girl. Mm-hmm. And she said, my father has nothing to do with it. That was the baby. So, and they said, Jackie's very upset. He's drinking a lot. He's in a very bad mood. And you've just caught him at the wrong time. So it wasn't personally me. He just was in a mood, so and I saw Jackie again at Michelle Yeoh's party in LA. And he smiled, and he was, I don't think he even remembered it, but that was a great surreal moment for me.
Oh my goodness. So you got over that, I guess. And what about Donnie Yen? What happened with
something, half me I thought, God, if he hits me, I'm going to sue him. If he hits me, I'm going to take a stance. If he, it was so slow motion. His fists are so big. His forearm. Jackie might have a terrible dress then and very, very girly type sometimes with some of the outfits he wears. But my God, that guy's got some fists on him.
Yeah, when I was in Hong Kong at the Star Walk of Fame, and I saw his hands, and I was like, wow, he's got bigger hands than me. It's not that I'm a huge guy or anything, but I thought it was a little smaller. And then I was like, whoa, he's got some great big hands. So it was scary. Probably a scary moment.
I reckon Jackie, when you met Samo, you knew for a fact that if Samo got in the thing, he could have it. You know what I mean? You're not looking, some of these stars you think, maybe they look good on the screen, but what happens in a back alleyway? But you could see, and then with that moment with Jackie, I thought, my God, Jackie could really have this. He's fit. He's now drunk, so he fights great when he's drunk.
Yeah, we all know that. Yeah.
And so I went home and I was quite elated. I didn't want to fall out with Jackie. I didn't smear me any thoughts in my head. I didn't want to fall out with the guy. I just thought, I just picked the time, and it was just for a friend back here. And he come back home and gave me the autograph, by the way.
Jesus.
And said, sorry.
Yeah, we got a little bit of clips from some of your favorite fight scenes. So let's start with Jackie's. We got Dragons Forever.
Yes.
Let me ask my director to pull it off, because actually you can actually see Speaking of Jackie's fists, why is this one of your favorite fights?
I just think I love the whole film.
Yeah,
I saw this I was lucky enough to see this at the late night. I knew, having seen the Eastern Condors, that Yuen-Wah was going to come and do something at some stage. You know what I mean? He's like that villain that you know is going to come on. But I love the Wheels on Mills fight. So for me, this scene here, you got Benny the Jet, who's a really world-class fighter. He's not fighting some stunt. He's fighting a really, good, a world-class fighter. Yeah. And Benny just looks with his eye makeup on and that, you know what I mean? He just looks like a badass. And I remember seeing it at the cinema with some people late night, And I guess when it's cheering, you think, yeah, yeah, and the euphoria. But for me, I mean, the whole of this film. But I love Yuen coming out. He's gangly, looks like an accountant, and that move there, you know what I mean? He's
Yeah.
the whole film. You remember, I'm watching these films long ago, 1987. I had a bootleg of this film from Thailand, where the guy in the cinema is dubbing it in Thai as he's
Oh
watching
my
the movie.
goodness. Yeah.
And I said, I'm selling this film. And I sold so many copies. I said, it's just a bootleg. And it's in Thai. People didn't care because I showed them a few scenes. I used to sell from before I went to London, I was living in like a YMCA hostel. And I started up the Jackie Chan fan club from this room. And what would happen is I would invite people up. We would show them the film, and we had about 6 machines, and we would sell the video. And this went on for 2 or 3 months, and then we were getting lots of calls because I was doing the unofficial Jackie Chan fan club, and then one day I'm walking in, and the woman said the manager wants to see you because this is a YMCA. And so I've gone into his office and I said hi. He said, we're just trying to work out that your room gets more calls than the entire hotel put together for bookings. Plus, we notice young boys going up to your room and they come out smiling. Now, 10, 12 years ago, the YMCA was up for a big scandal because of Rent Boy and people using that as a rent boy, young boys going in there being used. He thought I was the trafficking young guys.
Oh my God.
And was using that room as a place to seduce young guys. And all the calls was me getting bookings. Of course, I went and told him the story. It's a kung fu. They're coming up.
Yeah, and nobody would believe that. It was like, yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm calling the police.
Oh my God.
But I said to him, I said, come to the room. And I said, it's just they come up, we show them the film. He said, that's fine. I think you better leave. So I had to go,
Yeah, leave anyways. My goodness.
So for me, this film, even though that's not Jackie kicking there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's probably Chin Karlok.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it is, yeah. For me, on the big screen, this was Jackie coming off the back of like Wheels on Meals, Project A. At this stage, Jackie was peaking. Every film he come out with was a solid goal, a solid 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But for me, this whole film, and what makes it the greatest, it's got the 3 of my favorite stars, Samo, Yunbyo, Jackie.
We also have Snake and Crane. Snake and Crane. Yeah. To show a little bit of a different side of Jackie Chan, when he fights these 3 guys. And I know this is one of your favorite scenes because this is a pre-successful Jackie where he was still in that rough expression.
Jackie was throwing everything into this film. In fact, I know for a fact that if you ask Jackie what his favorite film is, it's this one. Because at the time, he was throwing everything he could. There's a scene, not this particular scene, but there's a scene, but in this film, Jackie here, this is Jackie the genius. This is Jackie at his best. He's allowed to take full control. This is where you can see Jackie crafting himself. There is a giveaway scene in this film when he goes down to the river and he sees those 3 guys and he goes, you think you're famous? He goes, you're not famous. You're just well known. And he fights the guys. And there's one scene where the guy is not the guy down. He runs up, puts his hands behind his back and does a head spring off the guy's stomach and lands. I've never seen that in a film. It's like a throwaway scene for him. But you run up to somebody, hands behind your back and put your head in and flip off it. I mean, I was very much into the acrobats watching these. You know what I mean? The sort of like, it's like watching Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, the flow, the movement. But for me, if since it came out, now it's out in really good quality, but at the cinema and seeing these films there, Jackie put his full repertoire to this film. You know what I mean? Everything he did he's trying out new things. It's if I had to go to a desert island, take some films, this is right there.
Yeah, yeah, you can definitely
Watch
feel
these
the
films.
energy and the attempt.
You can watch this film many, many times, and you can see new things, new bits in it. You know what I mean? Because you
Yeah,
know the story, and you're just looking, and you think that even the beginning opening with the Masters. You know what I mean? The whole film, it's a real. It's just
yeah,
a quality Jackie film.
yeah,
You know,
without a
full.
doubt. I also love spiritual kung fu. I don't think people talk about that one enough, because those before Snake and the Eagle Shadow and Drunken Master that actually gave him the popularity in Asia. I believe that these were very, not only action packed, obviously, but very spirited. You know, because he put everything, his energy, his whole
You know,
body into it.
I did a bit of a commentary for that film. I mean, in the UK, to come out, but when it came out next time, genius. They called it Karate Ghostbusters, and it worked. I believe Jackie was a bit upset with me because they were using for the first time like effects, weren't they, for the ghosts? You know, they
Yeah,
were using
yeah,
effects. I guess, you know, but when you watch these films, especially like Dragon Fist as well, that I owned for a while with Toby, the whole Jackie collection.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we released them. So we had to watch them a lot of times and we put them out. And although these films may have not been the huge box office success when they come out, these films have gathered so much momentum over the last 30 or 40 years. That's, you know, that they're now being remastered. These films have such a huge audience. And I think anybody that's watching Jackie Chan, if you're a real Jackie fan and you think I'm watching a Jackie film, you're probably going to jump back to Drunken Master, that period. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's also his new wave stuff, but I think if I want to watch Jackie being Jackie, it's one of these period films for me.
Yeah,
personally.
yeah. Then we have Sammo Hung in Eastern Condors. Please pull
You
it
can't
up.
just, this is
Eastern
just
Condors. I love this movie. You actually said this is your favorite movie of all time?
this is my favorite. This is where Name Eastern Heroes come from. I saw this at the cinema. Didn't know what to expect. Late night cinema, and it's like a who's who. Jackie's gone off to make Project A2. Sammo's brought his crew onto this film. He's really surrounding himself with the stars. And once again, I just love Yuen Noir as a villain. He looks
Yeah.
so unassuming. But, you know, and I know for a fact that when someone fights, he goes full in. There's none of this pulling back. He'll make a bit of contact with you.
Yeah,
But
you,
this
you
whole
can definitely see the body blows. I mean, they're awesome.
Yuen Bio looks great. Sammo Hung, I'll tell you a little story. Sammo Hung for this film went to a guy I knew, and I must get his name up. He died not so long ago, which is really sad. But he trained Sammo for this. And they said that at night time, they had to put a chain around the fridge because Sammo got up in the night and try and eat because they were trying to starve him for this film. If you've got a film set like Moon Warriors, when Sammo does the catering, there's a caterer that, and then he's over on his own table cooking his own half a pig, and you know what I mean, he's doing it himself. But when you see this, Sammo's in his prime. This film. In fact, they even did a stage version of this. I saw some clips, you know what I mean, where they actually reenacted this on stage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's amazing. I saw it too.
You know, they've got a who's who of stars in here. Joyce Cadenzi, Sammon's To Become White, Yuen Noir, you know, Yuen Bio, Billy Chow. It is. I can personally say I've watched this film over 50 times in my time. Sometimes just fall into the scenes, but it's just, for me, it's just the stunt work in this is just exceptional. The whole setting, I'm watching it now, and if we were quiet, I'd sit and watch the rest of it with you. You know what I mean? Think back into this. It is just for me, my all-time. And when I set up my company after Jackie Chan Fan Club, and we were starting to try and branch out into more wider names to let the people know, Eastern Condors, I thought, I'm going to call it Eastern Heroes, and that's where it come from. That's this film. But this fight here, it's in the minute when Sammo just does that faint kick and boom, you know, it looks like he's going to kick him.
It's
There's
so
a
rough,
scene
right
now. I think it's just a great move. Billy Chow's a tough guy, you know, but Sammo's going to look at him and he's going to try and weigh him up. And I think he's going to come now. He's just going to make this little feint. Oh, look, with his foot. And he's in his cat stance. Boom. And boom, boom, straight. Wow.
This is so impactful. And I love the way he finishes him off, like breaking his back, like, bah!
You feel like Sammo's really
go.
kicking six goals of shit out of him.
Yeah.
You know, lots there, you know what I mean? At that moment, To be honest with you, when I managed to get a copy of this from Chinatown, I watched it, and everybody who come around said, "You got to watch this film." You know what I mean? And it's just for me. It's the
Yeah.
It's a quite, and then you're going to see someone come flying in, off the cart there, boom.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you can never worry about your size when you see a guy like that move.
yeah, it's given a lot of hope to a lot of people, and it's like these guys, this team at Golden Harvest in the '80s. It's like they could not go wrong. I mean, you got a pirate movie with Project A, you got a Rambo type movie with Eastern Condors, you got more of a Western like with Millionaires Express or Shanghai Express. I mean, you got a little bit of everything.
This period was a golden age.
The golden age. I mean, we never saw anything like that.
My very first triple bill, which packed out on a Sunday afternoon back in 1988, my very first series was Eastern Condors, Project A2, Shanghai Express. You're not going to beat that as a triple bill, in my opinion. I mean, you'd walk out of that film exhausted. You think, oh, God. It's not like you watch a great film, next film's a bit under par. This was just bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
It was, there's something else about it, you know what I mean? And for me, no matter what comes out, this film will never be knocked off its perch.
Then we have, because I spoke with you earlier, just so our audience knows that we're pulling up what you refer to as being some of your favorite movies, which is always a difficult scene. A guy that I love very much is Won Jin, and we have Women on the Run, which is the next clip we're going to watch.
I got this film as a bootleg, and it was a Cat 3 film. But there's this one scene. For me, it's one of the greatest kicks I've ever seen on screen. And I don't know if it's in this scene. I can't remember. But he does this. He's out somewhere. It's in like a deserty scene. And what he does is he does a roundhouse kick. And then as he comes round, he keeps his leg up. And the other leg comes up. He does a double roundhouse kick with both legs.
Oh.
And later on, they found out, does this guy use a wire? No. As a young kid, he watched the films and used to imitate it. He'd try and do, if you, next time you mimic a film, take that scene, do the roundhouse kick, and as you come around, bring the other leg up and boom.
This guy's amazing.
I've never seen anything like it, but the whole film, his scene, he for me, Scorpion King, the films he made, he was an incredible kicker.
Yeah, I first saw him in the Scorpion King. I knew it as Operation Scorpio with Chin Carlock as well.
That kick he does, I've rewound that kick so many times. And then later they interviewed him for one of the Hong Kong Legends tapes, I think it was Scorpion King. And he explains that, that he just learnt them at home. He's like, you're going home, he just watched the films and mimicked it. Incredible.
And he's pretty much I'm not going to say very active, but he's active. He's on Facebook, and I tried to send him a message, but I guess he doesn't speak English, so I would have to get
that's the trouble here with all these people. They don't. Yeah. Sometimes their Facebook or it's somebody else being an admin for them. It's just taking the thing. But I mean, if you look at the Scorpion King the Scorpion King tape that was put out by Hong Kong Legends, in one of the extras, he actually does these kicks to show people, you know what I mean? And they filmed him just doing these kicks on a mat, these incredible kicks with no assistance, just him.
Yeah, this guy's amazing.
Defying physics. I got this film as a mystery film, you know what I mean? But he's the girls are, as always in this film, give as good as they get. But he is. Look, I mean, even that's a little throwaway triple kick. I mean, like you say, they're not easy kicks to pull off, but his double roundhouse kick. Never seen that before committed to celluloid.
This guy's amazing. I love it.
No, he is. And sadly, I know he teaches now, but he didn't seem to have much of a film career, did he? Really,
Do you think some of these guys, because of that that we were talking about earlier, being in show business is kind of tough. So I believe a lot of these guys. You can stop it right now. I believe a lot of these guys are, some guys that I spoke to who are happy as hell doing other things other than movies, because movie is a tough industry where your ego goes through the roof and people are mean, and the producers a lot of the time only think about money, and you're like this prop or this marketing tool. Do you think a lot of these guys are probably much happier just teaching classes and every once in a while going and doing a movie? You know, guys like Keith Cook or Richard Norton.
I'll tell you a perfect example of that. I brought Won Jin over to the UK.
Oh yeah, I saw the workshop he gave. Yeah,
I brought Won Jin, and this is a guy gone for 80. And then we got out for dinner, and of course we want to talk about Bruce Lee a little bit. And Won Jin at the table, and I said to him, what happened? You sort of looked like you could have had a bit of a career in the movies.
exactly. Yeah.
And he said to me, you know what? And he said, maybe the Bruce Lee fans don't want to hear. I never talk about it. He says, but maybe if Bruce had not chased the stardom and had continued his art, I think he'd still be alive today. He said, and I looked, when I heard Bruce, he said, and I looked and I decided that the film industry is not ready for me. He said, I had a call on the way here from Samuel Holmes, wanting to do a film with him, And he said, I've turned my back on the money. He said, I just teach. I'm very selective of my students. I don't just give anybody through the door. I go and grade people in different countries. He said, but for me, I made that decision very early on in my career. I'm just going to concentrate on my art. And he looked well for it. I mean, the guy was nearly 18. He was throwing people around, and he swore like a trooper. And he just said to me, that was his choice. He felt that he'd get eaten up. He said, for me, I just saw the movie industry as a negative place. It wasn't good energy. I went back. I
believe so too.
Kept with my art, trained, simple life. Don't do drugs, don't do this, same wife all these years, and just live a simple life, he said, and I feel better for it. I mean? I don't care, I don't have the money, I don't have the riches, but I have my mind and I'm still alive. And in my opinion, he said, because when I met Bruce was taking some sort of like, I don't know if they're antidepressants, he said, but Bruce was very, very always worrying, because the Way of the Dragon, which was going to be shot in Rome, they had a lot of issues with the visas. They couldn't film in the Colosseum. They had to go back and remake, and this was Bruce's first directing job. So he's there on the set. They've done a few shots in there, but they're not allowed to. Most of the people he took out, they couldn't get permits, so they had to go back. So it's his directorial debut. And Bruce has been studying books. He's doing this. He wants to make something great. But the stress of this had got to him.
Yeah, I believe so too. I believe so
he
too.
said Bruce was taking, I don't know if he's taking a relaxer or a depression. He said, but he said, truthfully, this is his words. I think he felt lonely. Everybody wanted to be around him, but he wanted to be. He said, but Bruce loved talking about martial arts. He said, we did some stuff together. He said, I helped improve his kicks. We did some kicking, and and he was interested, and he said, for that scene, I hope I gave him some sort of some tips. He said, but I realized that it wasn't for me, the film industry, and it's a little bit like Won Jin we brought over. Again, a guy in his late 70s. When he went out and did a demo, he ran up and did 3 kicks like he was like a 30-year-old guy. Wow, but again, he had sort of moved away, gone into business. I think the people that stick with their martial arts as an art and use it as a way of life probably kind of a longevity. I think for some people, they can go into the industry, and if you're not too, it can eat you up. You can soon end up with some bad habits. So that's my experience from Won Jin. He didn't take the road, which he could have done. He had a lot of offers.
That is amazing, Ricky. Thank you for sharing, because I've been thinking about that quite a lot. Well, a little bit of a backstory on me. I've been a stuntman for almost 15 years, and everything that I've done has been in the, I wouldn't say ego, but very much ego driven. When you want to watch your art, you want to watch yourself doing this, you want to watch yourself doing that, you want to see the final result. I mean, you get really stressed and really anxious about your work and the way it comes out. And I believe that this is only just a fraction of what guys like Jackie Chan or Sammo Hung felt doing all those hits, like not sleeping for 3 days in a row to get those fights done and stuff. I can't even imagine the energy that they put in and the stress because of the producers and because of the whole industry pressure behind them. And I just read the I Am Jackie Chan. I think it's I Am Jackie Chan, the new book of Jackie's, which is quite, it's quite frustrating to read because you love the guy. I love the guy. He's my idol. But then you see,
quite honest, he went off the rails a bit. You know what I mean? You can listen. A lot of people, especially today with YouTube, a lot of people are cutting their own promos. They all want to be there. They don't just want to be a stuntman. They really like to be in front of camera. That everybody's got a script. But there's very few people. Van Damme is not the best one. I met Van Damme before he got famous when he'd just done Pray for Death with Shokasugi. He'd been sleeping on a couch at VPD. But he had this determination. So there are certain people that are going to have an X factor. Jet Li. These people are, there's probably 1,000 people that can do what Van Damme can do, but he had something. Jet Li. Tony Jaa had made quite a few films. He didn't look like that until he got behind with the choreographer. I forget his name, never pronounce it. And then he may come back, and On Back changed the world for people. When I saw On Back, it was like watching Big Boss for the first time. I thought, my God, where's this guy come from? Ip Man. There's moments in cinema that change you, that bring a new, there's nothing much more people can bring to the scene now. It's gone into like MMA style fighting. You don't see so much of the period fighting these days. It's all like Born Identity, like scuffling and doing locks and holds. But I do feel, personally, as much as I would love to have, I still have a dream of making a film, and I'm still talking about it right now off record. And I know my sort of character that's been in and out, and I'll be truthful. I've been into rehabs. I've lived a dangerous life and excitement. Back in the day, I later found out due to some sort of ancestor history that I was related to Oliver Reed, so I blame him, the Hellraiser. So I blame him. So I know that my addictive nature and my character would have easily have been dead by now.
Oh yeah.
Now I'm older, and it's a long time in the past, and you're more settled down, and you're just too old to get to do this anymore. But so I see it, and I see a lot of young people.
It's probably the most difficult thing to keep self-control when you're bigger than anything, and everybody's like wanted to be with you, and you're famous, and you can't go anywhere without being recognized, and people are giving you shit, and wherever you go, you have a free lunch and a free meal. It's like that fucks you up. I mean, that can't be good for anybody. I mean,
don't people realize? Even I've gone into places and people come and say, "Hi, I'm Rick," and I've signed stuff for people, and you always try to be very, very humble. And some people talk to you like they really know you, but you don't know them. But, they know you, and it's quite nice. But having that time with Tarantino and seeing that door being barged and people screaming and the door, and he said to me, "This is what it's like." And I think what people don't realize is, as much as you crave the money and the recognition, it comes at a price, because you step out of line, especially in today's woke society.
Oh my goodness! Don't even tell me about it.
You are finished. So and I couldn't want to say just how many people must be fearing for themselves both in Hong Kong and in America, that in their past maybe was a bit boisterous. You know what I mean? So it's a very, very fine line. So, you got to go in there. One of the people I admire is a guy I've known for a long time, Scott Atkins.
Yes, I love Scott.
He's to the shows, and I look at him and I think, he's got a lovely wife, he's got his kids, he's stayed grounded. He hasn't flipped into this, and he's a good-looking guy. It's very easy for someone like that earning some money to suddenly, cross over to the dark side.
So you think guys like Scott Atkins and maybe Michael J. White and those types of guys, they keep real, and they know how to turn off a little bit.
People now that I've interviewed and know, like Lauren Avedon, you've had on here.
Oh yeah.
I've known a long time. Yeah. And I see, I was talking to there's people like Steve, Mark Strange. I was on the set of Expendables with them. All these people now are realizing that if you're going to do this, you've got to stay fit, got to stay trained, got to go have a good night's sleep, get up in the morning, you got to stay focused. You cannot allow yourself to be taken off your path, because there's thousands of people out there that want to be in a movie. Yeah. If I said to you on Facebook, I'm going to get this movie, I've got a deal in place, I'm looking for some actors, I get inundated with people suddenly at the woodwork would come to me and say, here's my resume, and here's that. And I'm sure that it's the same for Mike Lee, who does some casting, I've known for a long time, people suddenly turn up. But I believe out there's so many people out there that want to become an actor. But I said to them, if I had my time again and I still was doing the martial arts, which I did for a long time, I would take acting classes, because just being fight films do not make big box office.
Yeah.
I interviewed Brett Ratner, and we were talking about the rush hours, and he said it right. He said, he was watching the Jackie films since he was young, and when Miramax bought them and re-edited them, they killed them. They missed Jackie's flow, his beat.
Oh, yeah.
So when he goes over to see Jackie to do Rush Hour, he's told three things, one, Jackie will offer you food. Don't turn it down. It's bad for the Chinese. Mm-hmm. He'll keep things close to his chest, and be honest with him. So he's taken him a script and said, Jackie, this is the worst script. I'm going to rework it. But he said, when I saw Rumble in the Bronx, he said to me, I had a light bulb moment, because Jackie now has sort of crossed into the American audiences. It's still okay, 30 million. Miramax are now buying up some of the old Jackie films, thinking they can make a few $1 million on the back of them. He said, but I looked at it and I realized that what works best is, like, if you look at Lethal Weapon, the sort of black cop, fish out of water, black cop, white cop, and you look at Beverly Hills Cop. He said, when you bring and make a film with two guys like Jackie, who's the biggest star in Hong Kong, and Chris Tucker, who's a comedian, it's not a kung fu film. It's an action comedy.
Exactly.
And he said that's why that film took 300 million and become the biggest grossing film, because the film out there's always people want to do, okay, John Wick and films like Nobody have done great business, you know what I mean? But if you really want to make a film, don't make it a kung fu film. They don't make big money.
Yeah.
We love them. We sit here and watch the old school fight scenes, but these films didn't make riches for people. But if you want to make a film and have some good slapstick or some good comedy or some good action in it, but you need a story. You know what I mean? That's what gets the audiences in the end, because a lot of people just don't go and see a straight kung fu film. It doesn't work. Not if you were looking for the money. But like you said, I think you have to reflect on it. And there's so many people out there showing their show reels. It's not. It's a hard life, and it's not easy to become an actor. You know what I mean? You end up being a stuntman and that, and you want to make a film and shoot it, but you also have to look after your own your own spirit, because it can break it, and it can make you a worse person than what you went in.
Stuntmen never say no. 特技人从来不会说不行。
冇辦法啦，你呢啲動作咪好睇咯。大家都說啊，不可能，不可能，我就做給你看，就是有可能的事。就這是卯上了，用命來拼。
只要我是我的 best friend， 什麼都會幹。
那是用命換回來的呀。
Did you see the new? I think it's a year or 2 years old. The documentary on Hong Kong Stuntmen.
Yeah.
That was kind of hard and kind of sad to see how some of them, ended up. Like they
reality
gave.
Existed. If you're in Hong Kong a lot and you meet these people, it's a reality. There's a saying in Indonesia, why are we forgetting everything tonight?
Thailand.
There's a saying. Manila.
Yeah, Philippines.
Life's cheap, toilet paper's expensive. And that's pretty much the same on those sets. You're going to throw some of those stuntmen. Brett said to me, they're on the set, and he's looked up, and Jackie's running across these beams. And he's gone, what are you doing? And he said, Brett. And he's saying, Jack, come down. I said, well, what? I said, you got to be. He said, we're in short. This is America. You can't. This is where he said, this is where sometimes we're really difficulty. Jackie's been making films before I was born. He's now up in the rafters, jumping around, testing something out. And then what he'll do is he'll get Andy Cheng and say, do this insane stunt. And if he lives, tell me how you did it. No, I'll do it. So, and he said to him, so I've got insurance companies here. He said, you got to be harnessed up. And he said, that they're so used to just one great moment he told me about, which is in my new magazine, but it's not out yet, is that they're on top of, I'm not sure if it's Rush Hour 1 or 2, they're on top of a building and they want to get a shot. It's like Chris and Jackie run up to the edge of the building and then the shot is them looking down. So the producer hires a crane. It comes in 6 parts and it takes them nearly 6 hours to get it up there. And Jackie's frustrated. He's walking around going, what is this? He's not used to these because Jackie's had better experiences in America with Protector. But it's not had good experiences. He didn't really want to come back to America. Only with his own films. So he's entrusted Brett that I'm going to make this film work. And he said, stop, this is mad. Stop. And he said, get my 6 stunt guys over here. And he said, Jackie picks up this rope and wraps it around and ties him. He walks to the end and says, ha! And he said, he counts them in. And they lower him to like that. He takes the camera, he takes the shot. He said, okay. And they pull him back up. He said, there, I've saved you 80,000. That's on.
And Brett must have been, oh, shit. We're going to lose a star.
He said, you learn a lot, even when Jackie's editing. He said, so we've done this scene at the end of one of the movies when there's all these priceless bars. He said, I decided back then to shoot 2 prints. And he said, I've sent 1 print to Jackie asking him to edit it, and I've sent 1 to my editor. And he said, and then when they come back, I sit next to Jackie on the Steenbeck, and I said, and Jackie edits. He said, it took my guy 3 days. Jackie's done it in 4 hours. It's the same thing with one difference. Jackie takes out frames. He said, so to speed it up a bit. And that was great. I said, Jackie, the American audiences are not used to this. The hardcore Kung Fu fans, this is not for the American way. We've got to leave it intact. He said, so what I wanted to do is, he said, what I want to do in Rush Hour, it's not got the best fight scene, because we can't do the crazy shit that they do in Hong Kong due to the insurance, you know what I mean, and the stunt guys.
Everything.
He said, but I tried to put as much of Jackie in the film as I possibly could. But he said, and Jackie, when he saw the film, because he was really getting a bit upset about it, wasn't sure. But he said, when he went to that premiere, he said he was so happy that he says he was almost crying. He said, thank you, Brett. He then saw what an American film was like. Not a Hong Kong film, which does 2030. This is an American film with you in it. It's a comedy, and it's made 10 times more than any other film that you'd have been in. You know what I mean? So that's when it changed. And you see Jackie doing Shanghai, and, suddenly the new Jackie came in. He realized that that he started to understand the way the American audience watched and filmed, and this wasn't Chinese theater. This is a big Hollywood movie, So it's a big learning. It's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, and it was like 3 or 4 tries, right? He tried with Battle Creek Brawl, with the Cannonball Run 2, I think.
Cannonball Run was very bad, 1 and 2. The Battle Creek Brawl didn't do
Battle
great
Creek
business.
Brawl, even Rumble in the Bronx was not great.
No, Rumble in the Bronx did 30 million. It was better than the others. It showed that there was an audience. The Protector, I remember sitting next to Glicker. I didn't so I didn't know who he was at the time, but we were just sort of chatting. I never brought it up. But even with that film, Jackie went back and recut it, and it had a bit more success over in Japan and Hong Kong than the US version. So Jackie goes back and recuts another version. Mm-hmm. So he's adamant that he doesn't want to go back to America. He's happy with what he's doing in Japan, Hong Kong, China. And Brett said, he said it was, and it took some explaining to him because Jackie is a genius. He doesn't spend hours choreographing. He walks on set and he works it out there and then with his stunt guys who he trusts implicitly. So it's you get inside the mind. I was talking to Vince a little about Armor of God, too, and you know, Jackie said, he said, I've made 20 films in Hong Kong. He said, but with Jackie, you feel nervous, but he's so good and he so takes care of you, and he wants you to look good on the screen. And Jackie's a sort of a flow and a beat. He said, and once you get into that flow and a beat, it's great.
Yeah. Ricky, thank you so much for this. This was amazing to catch up with some of your stories. And I would
like I'm just in confession.
In confession, yeah. Kung Fu Dr. Phil. That's going to be my... No, but this was...
We should censor the show and we just start again.
No, No, it was amazing because that's, to talk about the fact that everybody can get online is one thing, but to really get into the ups and downs of the business and what you guys go through with all of this, and it's not all peaches and cream. So I really appreciate your being so honest.
I feel very gifted that I've had the life I've had. Just being a fan, being where I've done. And the magazine coming back, and it hasn't made me rich by any means of the chore, but to do something you love and have a passion for. That's your job, and
this is all you do, right? Do you do anything? Is this?
No, I'm just a professional hustler. No, it takes up a lot, But sometimes you can go work in a factory for 50 hours a week and be miserable, or you can, be going to Hong Kong, talking to people. It's about enjoying your work, and the people you meet nice people like yourself. You connect with people that you would never otherwise connect with. This is the first time we've spoke. But you come together, you share some stories, and now we're friends.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure. Wait. I'm not gonna let you finish without telling me the fight with Donnie Yen, and then we're gonna wrap it up. Why did you fight Donnie Yen? You gotta be crazy, man.
I brought Donnie over to the UK with Bay, and I was in Hong Kong at that time. By now, I had a video label, so I owned a video company which was releasing films. And Bay had called me and said, "Donnie's got a film he's just shot. He thinks you'll love it. You might want to buy it for the UK." And I said, "Sure." He said, "Do you want to come for a screening?" So I said, "Yeah." And I went there, and there's Donnie, who I knew already. He goes, "Rick, you're going to love this film. I've directed," and it was called Ballistic Kiss.
Never seen that one.
No, don't. And I said, "I want your honest opinion." I thought, okay, I watched it. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "That was awful. That was terrible."
You told that to Donnie?
He wanted the honest opinion. He wanted the truth. I can't say that I watched him, and I knew I just knew he was capable. It was like a speeded up fighting, guns, looked like a Naked Gun 2 film.
Come on, Ricky. I mean, if Shakira asks you if she's fat, you're not going to tell her the truth, right?
But it was just how it come out, and I thought I could say it to him. It's just the unclosed door.
You thought he was a tough guy to handle criticism.
He directed, fuck, hey, I'm going to do that. Whoa, but there's a funny side to the story. So I've gone, well, I said, look, I just said I admire you've done it. I've never made a film, but it's not a good film. This is not going to make you suddenly become noticed by people. But, you better go. And I'm sure he did, did Lone Wolf after that. Look, I was the first guy in the UK to put Donnie on a magazine. I was the first guy to be in the UK. I said Donnie's going to be a star in the future. I had that in writing from the 80s and the 90s. So I'm a supporter of Donnie. I spent money and brought him into the UK for an audience. So it's not like I was out to defamate his character. I got behind him. And I said to him, I'm your fan. I'm just telling you from my point of view. I'm down with the kids here. They're going to look at that and say, that's not drunken Tai Chi. That's just like So anyway, it ended. Jump forward a couple of years later. And I'm walking through Hong Kong and my phone goes. And it's back again. He said, "Hey, Donnie wants to know if you're in town. You want to interview him?" He's forgot about the last dance. I said, "Sure." So it's about half an hour to go. So I'm walking through, and I've gone through like to get to the side, you've got to walk through this like restaurant cafeteria. And so I'm walking through, there's Michelle Yeoh with a really beautiful woman. They both look good. She says, "Hi, Rick." Michelle, because I'd met Michelle in in London when she come to do the Bond film, and I drove around in a Rolls Royce playing the 007 music. And I went over and sat down, and I got engrossed talking to her. And suddenly my phone rang, and it's Donnie. Oh, you've done it to me again. You think you do it? He was going mad. I said, no, I'm with Michelle, your friend. I don't, you know. So I blanked him on that meeting, not being on purpose. Jump forward again to 2015, and now Donnie's coming to the UK to do Kung Fu Jungle. And I said, I'm going to go. I got a ticket to go. I got invited, and he's going to do a press meeting the next day. And I said, I'm going to go to it. And at the time, basically, he knows you're going, and he's waiting for you. And we wanted to film it, and the woman said, well, we don't have to film it, because, and we said, look, all 6 of us agree it's fine. And we went in, and he saw me, and he was fine. He shook my hand, and he's now done well. I love Donnie, don't get me wrong, even though I've had those experiences with him, and I still support him to this day. But he was fine. But when he looked in that eye and he shook my hand, I knew what his eyes were saying to me,
Yeah, like, I remember you, but hey, how's it going?
Look at you now. Look at me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But no, he wasn't bad. I mean, he was good, and it was cool. It's just one of the many things that's happened to me in my career. You know what I mean? You say you want to be honest, and it backfired on me. I should have said, Donnie, that was a masterpiece. That was like awesome filming. and that's it. So I've had a few, but it's always been misunderstandings, and it's never carried on beyond that. We're not sort of sending hate mail to each other on a daily basis.
And he probably knows that if it's your opinion and you're a kung fu buff, he probably knows that the movie sucked anyway. So he's gotta get over it.
When you live and breathe kung fu films as a child, and you're watching 6 films a day back there, and you just love it. You almost think you know everything. You don't, but you can certainly. Even today, I run a kung fu cap on a Sunday once a month. You've got to know what the audience wants. You've got to not put yourself on some pedestal. And so, I never done that in my life. But I mean, I really, people support the magazine, etc. You've got to be very grateful and humble that you're, because I disappeared for 5 years, and so I come back, and people thought I was dead. So and here you are back doing what you like. So God's given me another chance. Thank you. I'm not going to mess it up this time.
Yeah, that's amazing, Rick. What an amazing service, and thank you in the name of every kung fu buff there is. And yes, please keep on, because even if it's a niche.
Yes, I do enjoy watching your films when you're taking on. You're a really talented guy.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Honestly, I say, Christ, I mean, that's I don't know how long it takes you to rehearse those scenes, but they're spot on.
Yeah, well, some of those. If you mean the kung fu copycats, which I've been doing with my editor and my cameraman, I mean it's tough, because some of the scenes took like 80 takes or something to even get them close enough to what the guys are doing. Like, obviously, trying to mimic the moves of Jet Li or Sammo Hung or Jackie.
It's a real talent, honestly. I mean, it's to be able to, maybe you can put off a few scenes, but to do it for a whole sequence. I mean, I've seen many things. I would say it's the best I've ever seen, personally.
Thank you so much.
I've got an eye, and I said, Christ, that's just uncanny. It's almost like deep fake.
Thank you so much, my friend. Where can people find you? Where can people find you? On Facebook?
Yeah, I mean, it's I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram, as you know, and I also have easterneros.com is where you can reach me as well.
Nice. Ricky.
And I look forward to seeing this play back. I might have to watch it first and say, you've got to take all this out.
I'll send it to you, and you can let me know. But I think this was really honest and truthful, and that's what I was looking for. And raw. I like it raw.
It's just, yeah. There's no sugar coating on this.
Oh, man. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Thank you. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.